Hi guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. So I want to do an unofficial Q&A because I've been receiving a lot of comments, questions, feedback, and even emails, not only through the videos that I've been producing on YouTube through this channel, but also through the articles that I write for Antiques and Auction News. So I thought as a way to give back to some of my longtime viewers and subscribers, and also the readers of the articles that I write, I would do an unofficial Q&A so that I could answer some of your questions and give you more feedback about certain topics that I may not be able to devote a whole video or a whole segment to on this channel. And in regards to the articles that I write, there may be certain questions or topics that I'm being asked that I really don't have the time and resources to devote a 1,200 word article to as well. So I'm trying to proverbially kill two birds with one stone through this video. So if you do like these type of videos, just let me know in the comment section below so I know to make more of them. If you don't like the format style of these videos, also let me know so I know to make less of them. There will be a more formal Q&A coming up when I get more subscribers on this particular channel. I don't see at present time a reason to solicit questions, comments, and feedback from a lot of my subscribers or a lot of the viewers of my videos at this present time because I don't feel I have the subscriber base that merits it yet. That is coming. I will say I am kind of amazed at how many people did at least catch on to these videos because remember guys, when I produce my YouTube videos, I keep them separate from the articles that I write for Antiques and Auction News. So I don't promote any of my videos in any of the topics that I write about for Antiques and Auction News. And also, everybody who knows me, either in the trade or outside of the trade, has no idea that I'm doing these videos unless they particularly search YouTube and find a topic that I talk about on this channel, are able to click on it, and are able to associate that video to myself. So I keep a very low profile in that sense. There's really been no publicity to launch this channel. So now I'm going to get right into the questions. And again, if I don't answer your particular question in these sheets of questions that I have, understand it may still get answered in an upcoming video that I do in this similar format. Or if I don't answer it at all, just ask it again in another video, and I may eventually get around to it. I do apologize, guys, but I am getting a deluge of emails, feedback, comments, and of course questions in regards to the topics that I produce. So we're going to get right into it. Love your channel and the work you do. Thank you. Is WATA games here to stay, or do you see them going away? Also, is video game grading here to stay? Yes, love it, loathe it, hate it, feel indifferent towards it. Video game grading is here to stay. WATA games made an interesting relationship with the market as a whole. I talk about that in another video where I talk about Pawn Stars, the Super Mario appearance, and WATA games and possible market manipulation. That video was just launched a couple of days back on this particular channel. You can watch it with my thoughts on that. But WATA games did do an excellent job in forming key relationships with a lot of auction companies, a lot of high-profile collectors, speculators, and so-called investors in the greater video game collecting realm. So they are here to stay. I don't see video game grading going away anytime soon. WATA games will not fail as a company because there's too much financial backing behind them. They also do have the know-how and the ability, unfortunately, I have to say this now, to manipulate the market as they see fit, which is what they're currently engaged in, which is one of my criticisms of them. Overall, however, they're a great product, they're a great service, and also the auction companies that handle their products, mainly Heritage Auctions and Certified Link, are both two extremely reputable companies that I think anybody who's looking to get into the collectibles trade or the business of buying and selling should definitely do business with overall. On to the next topic. Okay, I'm still confused about stock market investing. Let's say I want to start investing $100 a week in a stock. What's a good website or a real thing to look into? The way this question is worded, I can tell that you're a novice stock market investor. I've said this before. What you want to do is simply go to Vanguard, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, any company that you are comfortable with, and you don't want to go into individual stocks and or individual bonds if you're a new investor who's never invested before. What you want to do is you want to look for an index-based mutual fund that follows the total stock market as a whole or the 500 index, meaning the S&P 500 index as a whole. Now, I will state this, as I said in other videos on this topic where I breached this particular subject matter as a whole. The market right now is experiencing all-time highs. The value of your investment is going to go down and up depending on what the market does as a whole each day, each week, each month, in and out. You cannot get flustered if your investment starts to lose money. You are invested in stocks and bonds for the long haul. What do I mean by the long haul? We are talking 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even in some cases, if you set up a trust, 100 years or more. That's what stock market investing, bond market investing is for. It is not for somebody who wants to go into the market, get rich overnight, or get rich in a couple of years and get out. Most of those people lose a ton of money in the process. Wealth, real wealth, is built over the long term. This is why when I said in one of my first videos I did on this channel that one of the things I got lucky with, I was investing in index-based mutual funds through Vanguard and companies of that like right out of high school, and it just so happened, what happened with me was eBay came around at that time, and I was able to transfer all the profits that I was making from flipping back then Beanie Babies, Atari systems, ColecoVision systems, Pez dispensers, and toys. The profits that I was making from that all went in to mutual funds and other long-term collectibles and antiques that I still hold to this day. That's how I got where I am today. It was over the long term. The difference is I started in the antiques and collectibles trade at the age of 12. I had my first brokerage account at the age of 18, and really, in all honesty, I had a minor's account long before that, meaning a person who's 18 is considered an adult in the United States. A person who's under 18, you pretty much have to have your guardian or parent sign to give you permission to open up a quote-unquote brokerage account if you're under the age of 18. Well, that's where I got most of my money. It was just compounding interest and gains over the long term. Next question. Sean, I would love to hear more on the differences between ancient and modern era coin collecting. What are the primary differences between the markets for classic coins versus that of ancient coins? This is a great question. Right now, one of the hottest markets in the coin collecting hobby or marketplace is the market for ancient coins, mainly from the Greek and Roman eras, because NGC, which is a reputable third-party grading company in that realm, decided to open up NGC Ancients, which does nothing but grade ancient coins from the Roman and Greek empires specifically. Well, this has caused a lot of interest in that realm. Now, the problem is this market, along with the third-party grading that goes along with it, is fairly new in the collectible coin marketplace. So the real, kind of like the blue chip equivalent of the coin marketplace has always been United States classic coins, minted between the 1700s all the way up through 1950. That has always been what I call the proverbial blue chip market for collectible coins. Well, one of the risks with investing in ancient coins is right now the market is very new. There's a lot of interest in that market, don't get me wrong. It has legs, it has always had legs, but you really have to know what you're doing because the market isn't really established in the form of accepting third-party grading at present time. So much like graded video games, ironically, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs before the market stabilizes, in my opinion. I am not currently invested in any type of ancient coins at present time. It is something I want to get into, but right now I'm too focused on completing a near complete type set of US coins in high grade, meaning mint state 63 or higher. That's what I'm focused on, and I also collect US currency as well. So that takes a lot of my spare income, and it also takes a lot of time to do that and interact with dealers in the trade. But ancient coins is something that fascinates me. You just have to be careful because a lot of times people hear the word ancient and they think old equates to value or rarity. Well, there's a lot of Roman coins that were saved en masse. Not all of them are as rare as you would think they would be just because they're several thousand years old. So you really have to be careful in that marketplace. It is something I'm monitoring. I am nowhere near being an expert in that market though. I know a lot more about US classic coins, currency, and the like. Next question. Sean, when are you going to do more videos on the topics of art collecting, investing, as well as first edition collectible books? Those videos are coming, guys. Another question I get asked, and I'm going to add to this, when are you going to do more videos on Lego? We got to understand, when I do videos of that nature, they take a lot of planning, a lot of time, and I really have to be eloquent in what I want to say and what I want to put out there for the camera. If you watch a lot of my earlier videos on this particular channel, I really got sloshed around in the comment section because some of my earlier videos were very crude. I would use the word okay a lot of times in some of my earlier videos, which made it seem like in certain instances I didn't know what I was talking about or I didn't plan a lot in the preparation of those videos. That's one thing that I want to work on going forward. So if I'm going to put something out where I'm talking about art collecting and investing, which is a sophisticated market in the antiques and collectibles trade, I want to make sure I come across as being very well spoken and articulate so that my audience understands what I'm talking about. And that's very important to me, but I will tell you those videos are coming because one of the things that I want to do on this channel to separate myself against a lot of the other hype-driven YouTubers is talk about more sophisticated markets in the trade. And when we talk about those markets, like I just answered a question on ancient coins. Ancient coins would be considered a sophisticated market in the antiques and collectibles trade, as would art, as would antique furniture, as would early American glass, as would glass bottles. A lot of those markets that get ignored by other YouTubers and even other experts in the trade because they take a lot of time and a lot of study to understand, and then also there's a lot of time that's taken in order to convert that understanding into something that you can teach to someone else. But those videos are coming, I promise you guys. Sean, why is it the quote-unquote greater antiques and collectibles trade, and why is it referred to, in your opinion, quote-unquote, coins, currency, historical documents, first edition books, and art? Okay, Psychology Lesson 101. This is neuro-linguistical programming. Let me say that again, neuro-linguistics. So when you hear me say the greater antiques and collectibles trade, and coins, currency, historical documents, first edition books, and art, it actually does something to your subconscious mind where when I say that again, it triggers something. And when I say something like greater antiques and collectibles trade, one of the things that's probably going on in a lot of people's head, why doesn't he just say antiques or collectibles? Why is he referring to it as the greater antiques and collectibles trade? It's just a way to trigger people in their subconscious mind. So if you watch several of my videos and I do that, or I talk about coins, currency, historical documents, first edition books, and art, it's something that stays with you. If you don't believe me, look at the comment section on some of my videos and you will see trolls that have commented on my videos. They'll use bold letters and they'll go coins, currency, historical documents, first edition collectible books, art. And they'll just keep repeating that down. And what they don't realize is, I love that because that's why I do it, to make sure it sticks in your mind. So when you're thinking about items for long-term investment in the form of antiques or collectibles, all you gotta do is recite that to yourself. And if you wanna compare two markets, like let's say that you're thinking of getting into bottle collecting. Well, is bottle collecting on par with coins, currency, historical documents, first edition books, and art? That's what you're gonna be going through in your mind. And that's what I want to elicit when you watch my videos or when you come across my work in the trade. There's certain things that I do in writing form, meaning in print form, when I write for Antiques and Auction News. If you read my articles, some of my articles are written in a certain way where it elicits emotional response, whether it's of the conscious mind or the subconscious mind. I've always been fascinated with psychology, and I will tell you this, a lot of other YouTubers and a lot of other people, whether they're in the antiques and collectibles trade or in the financial trade or the real estate markets, they do similar things. That's why advertising works so well. It stays with you, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. Enough said on that. Do you think as console games move towards a more digital future, the focus on game collecting will shift more towards the content and quality of the game as opposed to potential value and investment? And part two of this question is, how are HD remakes and re-releases affecting the video game collecting market overall? Well, this is something that I don't think a lot of speculators get, and that's why I created this channel to begin with. Like, when you look at a game like the BioShock collection or the superb PlayStation 4 remake, of Resident Evil 2, those particular games in question are spectacular. They're well worth owning. But what people don't realize is, if you have the BioShock collection for PlayStation 4, you really don't need the original release of BioShock, BioShock 2, BioShock Infinite. And quite honestly, if you have Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation 4, you really don't need the original release that came out for the original PlayStation many, many years ago. So the markets are changing, and I think what's happening going forward is a lot of companies are taking advantage, Capcom specifically, of their back catalog of games, and that is going to have an effect on the overall video game marketplace and the collecting realm. And that's why, like, to the people that collect limited run games, I have nothing against their products. I love their products. As somebody who has a passion for video games and video game collecting, I love limited run games. I love strictly limited run games. The products they produce are gorgeous. But what you have to understand is, those particular items, just because they're released in, quote, scarce quantities or limited quantities, that does not mean, and never ever meant to imply, that those items are worthy investments and are going to be worth money going forward. Now, what's my point on this? Well, if you look at games like Night Trap or Corpse Killer or Double Switch, I'm picking on all the digital pictures releases right now, the first printing of those games came back when the Sega CD was first released. The subsequent printings that Limited Run did, while they're very well done, they're very incredible, you can't really consider them investment grade collectibles, because most people who are going to want to buy a copy of Night Trap, if they don't download it on their PlayStation 5 or PlayStation Infinite or who knows whatever system comes next, and they want a physical copy, they're going to end up wanting the original first release back when the Sega CD came out. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you really got to be careful as to how much validity you place in modern era video games becoming collectible. I'll give you another example. Right now, it's rumored that Metroid Prime Trilogy and Super Metroid are going to be remade for the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo has been releasing, on average, a lot of their back catalog of games for newer systems. And I'll just give you one example. Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. The game premiered on the GameCube, was automatically released also for the Nintendo Wii, then was remade on the Wii U. Well, if you're a collector of Nintendo games, you have 3 chances and 3 different systems to play Twilight Princess on. So which release is the most coveted? Let me leave it at that. There really is no right answer. So you have to be careful as to how all these remakes and all these re-releases are affecting the market, and they're going to affect the market going forward. Sean, you have discussed how original, authentic vintage arcade games are a horrible investment. Correct. What about vintage pinball machines? Well, yes. The market for vintage pinball machines from the 1980s and 1990s has been on fire as of late. This happened literally within the last 5 or 10 years. The market for vintage pinball machines, like coveted games like Pinbot, Bride of Pinbot, Funhouse, has been doing bananas on the secondary market. I mean, it's insane, some of the prices that people are paying for these items. Here's the problem, though. If you want to invest in an item like that, you have to understand that it's a very illiquid investment that costs money to maintain, store, and transport. This is not like buying a graded coin or even a graded comic book that you can carry around with you anywhere you go. This is something where you really have to put a lot of thought into what you're doing, how much you're paying for these items, and if you have the ability to maintain and fix them should they break down. I do not recommend most people invest in vintage pinball machines, just like I don't recommend most people invest in vintage arcade machines either. Now, for investment-wise, vintage pinball machines are holding their own, but vintage arcade games are a horrible investment. That's true. I can prove that to you. If I had a whiteboard behind me, I would quick scribble 3 lines on that whiteboard and pretty much show you where the market is going. I'll save that for an upcoming video because I already did one video on warning people not to invest in vintage arcade machines. But there's a lot of facts and figures in that particular market that dictates a very bleak future. Most people do not want stand-up arcade machines in their house. And I'm going to tell you right now, you get a significant other, you get married, even if you're dating someone, they move in with you, they don't want an arcade in their basement. That may be your thing, but they're going to look at it and they might get some nostalgia out of playing a game of Miss Pac-Man every now and then. But eventually, they're going to be wondering, why don't we just sell all these and emulate the dang game on the console, you know, on our PlayStation 4 or Xbox One if we can. And that's the truth. That market is a very eccentric market that I don't think a lot of people understand. More on that in an upcoming video. Sean, what are you buying this Black Friday? What are you currently speculating in for the short term or the long term in the collectibles market? Okay, well, what I do is I pretty much look for opportunities as they come up. And what I do is I engage in short-term speculation on a lot of popular collecting categories, whether we're talking Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, video games, Funko Pops, Amiibos. There's nothing in that category of the modern era that I would ever advise anybody keeping for the long term. I'm telling you guys, I keep hearing people claiming that Amiibos are going to be this big thing in 10, 20, 30 years. Hey, I'm 42 years old. I really don't have 30 years to wait. If I buy an Amiibo for 13 bucks or 16 bucks and it goes up to 40 or 50 bucks, I'm selling it, I'm taking the profit, and I'm putting that into something else, whether it be the financial markets, collectible coins, currency, what have you. But I am not going to buy case after case or box after box of the newest Magic the Gathering set, of Amiibos, of Pokemon, of Funko Pops, and try to keep it for 20 or 30 years thinking that it's going to be the next big thing. I warn a lot of people about that on this particular channel, and I would honestly advise you guys who are new to this channel to go back and watch some of those videos. Why they are crude, because some of them are the first videos that I did on YouTube, they still have a lot of value and a lot of information that you can learn from as a whole. What if I graded an average condition Flintstones at Dino Peak for the NES? Okay, this is an example where if you're going to leave me a comment in the comment section and I pick up on that comment and want to answer it, I need more details. Number one, I need to know what is included with your Flintstones at Dino Peak. You say it's an average condition. I'm assuming that means like a 5 on a 1 to 10 scale. Does it have box? Does it have manual? How much did you pay for it? What are you thinking of doing? You're obviously thinking of sending it to WATA Games if it's just a loose cartridge or if it's complete in the box, because that's their specialty for grading those items. So again, I need more information. I need to know if you're thinking of selling it right away. Are you thinking of holding it? Is it something you just bought for nostalgia? What is the reason behind you owning it? How much did you pay? What is it specifically? And what is your plan after you get it graded? Those are the things I need to know. Sean, what is your take about the animosity and hate towards video game grading and companies that make specialty limited products like limited run games? I do think the whole video game marketplace is divided right now, and this is why I caution WATA Games from attempting to get involved and manipulate the market like it appears to me they try to do in the Pawn Stars premiere, in that season 17 episode with Super Mario. You have to understand that there seems to be collectors forming in one of two groups. You have the hardcore speculators, investors that really believe every game created is going to go up in value, sky's the limit, I don't know what I'm talking about. These type of guys are not going to listen to logic or reason. Anything I say is completely wrong, and that's fine. They can have their fun time in the sun if that's what they want to believe. And then on the other side of the coin, you seem to have people that are completely against it. They see WATA Games, VGA, all these companies that are coming in and high-profile investors as ones that really want to only care about the money that they're going to make and also no regard for the market or the people that are going to get hurt when these items either accelerate in value or come crashing down in value. And that's something that I am concerned about, guys. Really, I've said this before. Look at what happened with 1980s and 1990s sports cards and comic book collecting. And this is something too that ties in with limited run games. Because what a lot of people I don't think realize is, now that we're kind of towards the end of this video, I can say this, limited run games is almost the equivalent of creating a limited hollow foil comic book back in the 90s, putting it on the shelf, and watching unknown speculators pick it up and go, oh my God, they only made 2,000 or 5,000 copies of this. It's going to be rare. It's going to be the next big thing. I've told you guys this a million times on this channel to the point where I sound like a broken record, which ironically, I do want to do more videos on vinyl record collecting because that is one of my passions. Just made me think of that. That said though, you have to understand there's a huge difference between organic collectability and mass-produced scarcity. And a lot of companies, Nintendo included, even Sony with some of their limited edition consoles and releases that they're starting to come out with, they are creating this euphoric high for people that are passionate about these collecting hobbies, and they're selling it at a premium. And a lot of people are thinking that because only a couple thousand of these items were made, that means it's automatically rare and it's going to go up in value. I'm going to leave you with a point as I end this video. Rarity only matters if there's demand and or an established marketplace. Let me say that again. Rarity only matters if there's demand and an established marketplace where that rarity can be sought after and or coveted. So you have to understand that. There are a ton, I can do a whole video on this, in collecting categories where people think something is quote unquote rare, or an item, there's only 100 known examples. Nobody cares. The item comes up for auction and nobody bids on it, or it gets a very low bid amount. And people come to me and they go, Sean, how did that happen? That item, there's only 100 pieces or examples in existence. Well, it's quite simple. Nobody cares. There's no demand. Just because you can have a comic book out there that came out with a character that nobody cares about, of which maybe there's 1,000, 2,000 copies, that doesn't mean just because comic books overall are worth money, especially of the superhero genre, that doesn't mean that that comic book is going to have value to it. And you have to understand that. That has to be your mindset when you operate in a lot of these markets. Now, we are hitting close to 30 minutes here, so I'm going to cut this video off. I hope this video has been helpful. If you do like the content I produce, consider leaving me a comment, feedback, or suggestion, and also consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.